Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021. I am your host, JW, Jason Williams, addressing you today from the lobby of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies in Trinidad and Tobago. As we all know, COVID-19 has placed restrictions on our lifestyles, and as we assemble virtually at this pivotal time in the history of our region and indeed the wider world, we are forced to reimagine the new normal for our future. With that in mind, to bring opening remarks, I now invite the director of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies, a public policy specialist who has consulted in both the private and public sectors, a former member of the Diplomatic Service of Trinidad and Tobago, and former Chief Technical Advisor at the International Labour Organization's Caribbean Office, a man who has steered the ship of this esteemed college over the past 4 years and continues to lead us all to greater understandings, collaborations, and success in the workplace. Please tap your keyboards. Yes, and let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Andre Vincent Henry.
My sisters and my brothers, it is a pleasure and a privilege to greet you all and to thank you on behalf of the Cipriani College family for agreeing to spend some time with us over the next 3 days. In particular, I wish to thank the Minister of Labour of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Stephen McClashy, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Ms. Natalie Willis, and their staff for the steadfast support provided by the Ministry to the College. 2 years ago, the Caribbean Office of the International Labour Organization partnered with us for the first edition of the Caribbean Workers Forum. The office is partnering with us again this year, and my only regret in this regard is that we are yet able to thank the new director of the office, Dr. Dennis Zulu, in person for his kindness in supporting our efforts. We look forward to welcoming Dennis to the region before long and to an even deeper partnership under his distinguished leadership. Ms. Vera Geseva, the Workers' Activities Specialist at the office, has been fervent in her support for the college, and we are indeed grateful. Our sister Sandra Messiah, the Regional Secretary for Public Services International, has served as an all-round exceptional resource, providing us with insight, encouragement, and advice, and all with her Caribbean warmth. We are grateful for Sandra for making us part of the PSI family. One of our new partners is the Global Labour University. This is a consortium of the Campinas State University in Brazil, the University of Kassel in Germany, the Berlin School of Economics and Law, and the Jawaharlal Nehru University in India, the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa, and the Pennsylvania State University in the United States. The executive director of the GLU, Dr. Eldira Jaffa, has proved to be a very open and generous partner, and we are delightful that they have agreed not only to lend their name to this conference, but also to assist us in mobilizing resources and publicizing and promoting the CWF. I am certainly looking forward to deepening this partnership. Tomorrow, we will be honored by a keynote address from Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, the Prime Minister of Grenada, and he will speak on the topic, "The Society Our People Deserves." On Friday, we will have the equal honor of a keynote address by Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and he will share his perspectives with us on the situation and context analysis of the Caribbean, and will provide an overview of the challenges of governance. These are important framings for our deliberations. The college is especially grateful that both of these leaders have made it possible to share insights into the challenges and opportunities facing our region. 15 months ago, when the term the new normal in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic was first coined, it was almost a kind of fixed concept, and one got the impression that assumptions were made about what the new normal would look like. As we discussed how we would conceptualize this forum, it became immediately apparent that the new normal is not a state, and in the near and even medium term, it is more a changing dynamic. The evolving reality is exposing weaknesses and vulnerabilities in all aspects of global life. For those of us in the Caribbean, concerned with ideals of equity and social justice, protecting the disadvantaged and the vulnerable, and the creation of a better governance, the need and challenges for clear and independent thought have never been greater. In this context, permit me to paraphrase the words of the Caribbean intellectual giant, Lloyd Best, which were written almost 60 years ago and still ring true. In a seminal article titled Independent Thought and Caribbean Freedom, Best admonished that we cannot afford to be up and down the oceans of the world looking for the newest obeah to solve our problems. For once we do that, we will find that the more things change, the more they will remain the same. In fact, in the present dynamic, we may well find that things will get worse. This conference is the college's contribution to Caribbean thought and freedom. We are aware of our institutional constraints as a small university, but we are also aware that the main hindrance to independent thought and freedom is an inability or unwillingness to recognize the talents in our hands and to use them to the best of our ability. I look forward to 3 days of stimulating discussion and arriving at a better frame of mind and a clearer idea of what we can do to support the ideals of justice and equity. In closing, I wish to pay tribute to my colleagues who have once again demonstrated it is not how much you have, but how much you do with what you have. In particular, I am especially grateful to Akins Vidal, who has led the team, and to Ian Daniel, the head of our Labor Studies Department. Let us enjoy ourselves as we tackle these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your insights and opening remarks, Dr. Henry. I am here now in the light booth above the auditorium and the main stage that has graced many theatrical performances. Let us add another performance to that list and join our voices together as Danica Daniel and Richard Mitchell perform the international union song, our union anthem, Hold the Fort.
Hold the fort, for we are coming.
If you're just logging on, this is the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021, and we're coming to you from the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies in Trinidad and Tobago. We just heard opening remarks from College Director Dr. Andre Vincent Henry, and all sang the International Union Song. Now let's combine our faiths and render the prayer of St. Francis.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And when there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is giving that we receive, it is pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Welcome back to the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021. Thank you for sharing the link to this broadcast across your social media platforms. We want this forum to reach and touch all our comrades across the globe. I am your host, JW, Jason Williams, and as we continue to be moved by the Spirit here today and discuss our contributions to the workplace and economies and societies of the world, all of which are still grappling with a global pandemic and its effects, tap your keyboards again and join us in giving a warm welcome to the ever-talented Jamila Phillips for a special African spiritual dance.
Hey, my God is good, yo. My God is good, yo. Hey, my God is good, yo. Everything a double double, everything a double double, promotion double double, your money double double, your business double double, your health go double double, your children double double, your anointing double double. Somebody scream hallelujah. In the morning when I wake up, I will sing my praise unto you, my Lord. I will shout, I will dance to you. You have given me health forever, ever. Hey, yeah, yummy, oh, yeah, oh. Promotion double double, your money double double, your anointing double double. Come on now, your health go double double. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Oh, shall Baba, oh, shall Baba. You are
Together we aspire, together we achieve, the motto of our twin island republic here in Trinidad and Tobago. This is the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021, and of course, we could not put this production together on our own. We commend all our staff members, the college team, the technical workers, and everyone who contributed to making this event a success. We also would like to thank all our sponsors. Only via continued and comprehensive collaborations can we consistently achieve progress within the labor movement. It is now my pleasure and honor to introduce the Sub-Regional Secretary for the Caribbean at Public Service International, Ms. Sandra Messiah.
Hello, sisters and brothers. More than 700 trade union organizations all over the globe are affiliates of Public Services International. As a global union federation, PSI represents 30 million public services workers, and we bring their voices to the UN, the ILO, the WHO, and other regional and global organizations. We defend trade union and workers' rights, and we fight for universal access to quality public services. On behalf of Rosa Pavanelli, PSI's General Secretary, it is indeed an honor and a privilege to bring solidarity greetings to you at the second edition of the Caribbean Workers Forum. Closer to home, PSI's 22 affiliates in the English, Dutch, and French-speaking Caribbean are rather proud to count the Elma Francois Institute for Research and Debate of the Cipriani College as an ally, a partner, and indeed a friend. And together we will continue our fight and struggle for an inclusive, just, and sustainable future. PSI identifies with and supports your specific objectives for this conference. As a global institution, we more than welcome the inputs, contributions, and proposals from Caribbean SIDS as we seek to influence regional and global policy so that that policy reflects the important role of public services and the public sector in creating what many are now referring to as a new normal. Now, this is especially important in the Caribbean, where we are still working on our various independence projects. Mariana Mazzucato is a professor at the University College in London, and she's a professor in the economics of innovation and public value. She's sometimes described as an economics agitator. Mariana demonstrates and reminds us that government is for setting big goals, defining the missions necessary for achieving them, encouraging and investing in innovation, and governing the process so that the public benefits. In fact, she has stated, we can't get out of the COVID problem unless we actually rethink the role of the state. The state, sisters and brothers, is a co-creator of value in our societies, and it is a solution to many of the crises and problems that face us now and may even face us in the future. We must take decisive action now. We must see the institution of government as a market shaper, putting in the investment to help prepare economies to withstand whatever the shock. It is in fact an important answer in the much touted quest for resilience, whether we're talking about climate justice, tax justice, gender justice, economic justice, indeed, social justice. I sincerely hope that the discussions, debates, and yes, the arguments help us to inspire a new generation of activists, organizers, and trade unionists who've got their act together and are able to reimagine and help build a just, resilient, and fully inclusive Caribbean. I am looking forward to a successful forum, sisters and brothers. We are well and truly immersed in the online world, and there are many benefits. For one, the ability to reach or connect with many more people all over the world. At the same time, we have to work really, really hard and make sure that this online world is not one of exclusion. Trade unions and civil society organizations must ensure that online engagement is not used to eliminate, lower, or stifle our voices and ideas. It is our connections as humans that add the greatest value. PSI looks forward to the results of your research, the many debates, and your thoughts and ideas. Best wishes for an engaging and inspiring Caribbean Workers Forum 2021. Let's work together in solidarity.
Thank you, Ms. Messiah. Let me now introduce the Deputy Director of the International Labour Office for the Caribbean, Mr. Lars Johansson.
Dear participants, it is my honor to address you at the virtual opening of the second biennial Caribbean Workers Forum entitled Reimagining the New Normal. In August 2019, I participated in the first forum where we discussed the ILO's Centenary Declaration on the future of work. Only 2 years have passed since then, and the world has drastically changed. During the last 18 months of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, our biggest tests have been to safeguard ourselves and our families from the virus and to determine how to retain our jobs. For policymakers, this has translated into beating the pandemic without doing irreversible damage to economies, organizations, and livelihoods. As we all have seen, this has been a very, very difficult balancing act. The pandemic has changed our lives in ways we never imagined possible. The impact on people are all around us. Everyone is asking questions. How much longer will the crisis last? How many more jobs will be lost? When are we going to get to a new and better normal? Or just back to normal? Since there's no certainty what the new and hopefully better normal will look like, it appears that it will, at least to some extent and for now, be dictated by the constraints imposed by the pandemic rather than our choices and preferences. What we do know is that we can't go back to how things were before. Now is the time to look closely at how to shape our future, not waste the opportunity this crisis has brought us in spite of it all, and achieve an inclusive and sustainable future of work for all. The latest ILO labor market analysis for Latin America and the Caribbean, released last week, reveals that the COVID-19 recovery over the last few months is not yet fully reflected in the labor markets of our region, with employment showing a lag in comparison to pre-pandemic levels. Informality has also increased. As many of you will know, when formal employment falls, informal employment typically increases. However, in this crisis, both have contracted, with informal employment facing more intense impacts than formal employment. Among informal workers, it is women, young people, and those with lower qualifications who have been disproportionately affected by the reduction in employment and income. This means that the impact on inequality as well as poverty are stronger than for other areas in the region. Social dialogue remains vital as cooperation between governments, employers' organizations, and workers' organizations has proven indispensable to design and implement appropriate socioeconomic strategies and policies in times of crisis, this one included. Given this scenario, trade unions are critical to achieving a more equal and inclusive, human-centered recovery for the Caribbean that supports the creation of a more formal employment to guarantee the income and social protection of workers and their families in vulnerable conditions. To build resilient labor markets that are responsive to the needs of workers, trade unions should be at the table with governments and employers at every step of the crisis recovery. Their role is key to shaping policies that support and create more and better jobs and strategies to guarantee income to the population, particularly for those who have the greatest difficulties in the labor market. Across the Caribbean, trade unions have played a pivotal role in addressing COVID-19. from tripartite and bipartite social dialogue to bilateral interactions with governments to targeted actions carried out in support of their members and society as a whole, they are contributing towards better and more inclusive labor and social agendas during this crisis. This conference offers a platform to discuss and debate the post-COVID world and provide a research-based assessment of the potential for a paradigm shift in the new normal for the Caribbean. Over the next 3 days, you will have an opportunity to articulate how trade unions can lead the road to recovery from a worker-centered perspective. I encourage you to consider how social protection, migration, industrial relations, social dialogue, occupational safety and health, inclusion, cooperatives, and community empowerment can contribute to a more sustainable and resilient region. In closing, I would like to thank Elma Francois Institute for Research and Debate of the Cipriani College for Labour and Cooperative Studies in Trinidad and Tobago for organizing this event. The International Labour Organization is grateful to participate. On behalf of colleagues from our Caribbean office and from ILO headquarters in Geneva, we look forward to sharing our knowledge and experience as well as to learning from you. I wish you all a productive event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johansson. It is now indeed my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Global Labour University Online Academy, Edlira Jaffa.
Comradely greetings from the Online Academy of the Global Labour University to the organizers and participants of the Second Caribbean Workers' Forum. At these extraordinary times, it is more important than ever that the labour movement does all in its power to mitigate the harsh effects of the global pandemic without losing sight of the bigger fight for altering the structural and pre-existing conditions responsible for a crisis of this scale, which goes well beyond the health crisis. We at the Online Academy of the Global Labour University are continuing our efforts to support labour and other progressive forces in this double movement. We work closely with experts from academia and the world of work to debate and develop policy alternatives which seek to direct the economy towards meeting the human needs while respecting the ecological boundaries of our planet. Our free online courses dedicated to these topics, as well as the global team of trainers, seek to bridge global and local debates and contextualize the global policy proposals. I take advantage of this opportunity to invite you all to enroll in our courses and join our collective efforts. It is in this spirit that we salute this amazing gathering of people from so many countries to discuss comradely pathways to new visions for our societies, visions which are embedded in people's everyday struggles for work and life with dignity and for environmental justice. I look forward to seeing many of you, although for the time being only virtually, and I wish you all a very fruitful discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Jaffa. It is now my honor to introduce Senator the Honorable Andre Lewis of Grenada, President of the Caribbean Congress of Labour.
The Caribbean Congress of Labour extends its solidarity to the Caribbean working class and all peoples of the Caribbean. The CCL extends deepest condolences to all peoples who lost loved ones, who are sick and otherwise impacted by this deadly virus, COVID-19, and its variants. We urge all workers and peoples of the Caribbean to please follow the established protocols of wearing your mask, sanitizing, physical distancing, and vaccination. The CCL establishes that it does not support mandatory vaccination. We call for a dialogue between the employer, the government, and the labor movement. We call for dialogue between employers and employees to address these matters. It must not be a unilateral decision, especially for workers who are already employed. We do not believe that vaccination should be a condition of employment. We call for increased education on the aspects of vaccination and we call for independent-minded medical practitioners, those who are not tainted with a political brush, to be able to answer questions at the workplaces and for the nation as a whole, given the politicizing of our societies. The CCL is indeed honored to be a partner and part of the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021, organized by the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. Comrades, we salute you for the work that you have been doing in terms of raising the consciousness of Caribbean working people. The Workers Forum is held in a very unprecedented period in the history of the world working class movement and humanity as a whole. The ravages and challenges brought on by COVID-19 has clearly exposed the hypocrisy and double standards of most of our societies. COVID-19 has clearly demonstrated that our most prized human resources were undervalued. Today, we see our street cleaners, our grocery store workers, our service attendants, our maids, cooks, orderlies, security officers, all have to be in the front line. While many of us who operate in the traditionally important jobs and functions are able to safely do so virtually from the safety of our homes. We see our workers such as nurses, doctors, lab technicians, public officers, pharmaceuticals, heroically coming out every day and facing the challenges. And yet, they are not considered to be important because they are given fixed-term contracts for functions that they perform every single minute, every single second, every single day, every single week, every single month. But yet still, they are given precarious jobs that they cannot see themselves financially and economically because they are given renewable contracts, permanently renewable contracts. We know most of our police and prison officers operate under working conditions that are deplorable, while many of the leaders operate in air-conditioned units. Their working conditions, their homes, their families are exposed. The Caribbean working class, both organized and unorganized, employed and unemployed, are today bearing the brunt of these economic and social challenges. Rising unemployment, continuing deteriorating health services, inadequate social services and protection, increasing sexual harassment, domestic violence. All of these must be addressed and condemned. Many of these ills have now clearly shown themselves and bring more fully exposed due to COVID-19. The CCL is confident that this period provides another golden opportunity for us as a Caribbean civilization to re-engineer the society to make it more equitable for all. And operating under the theme of this Workers' Forum, reimagine the new normal must result in a new normal of the working class getting a decent living wage, a better living conditions. It must result in the dialogue to ensure that the working class have better access to health services. Must result in the working class having better access to education, both academic and skill, designed for the realities of our society. COVID-19 has demonstrated that our healthcare system has been neglected. And the crisis that we are facing today, colleagues, comrades, with our healthcare systems that are overwhelmed. Yes, it has happened throughout the world, but we cannot run away from the fact that even without COVID-19, our healthcare system was poorly equipped. This is an opportunity for us to fix it. This is an opportunity for us to make a better society. Let those who labor hold their reign. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Lewis, and thank you for logging on to the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021. Please continue sharing the link to this broadcast across your social media platforms. Like this page and subscribe to our channels. On May 30th annually, Trinidad and Tobago celebrates the arrival of the first Indian indentured laborers to our country. Known as Indian Arrival Day, this phenomenon brought not only a new labor force to assist in the economic development of this country, but also a new people with a vibrant and rich culture. Welcome to the stage now, performing a Bollywood medley, the talented Shalini Jutram. Thank you again for joining us at the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021. At this time, we have arrived at the feature tier where the air is rare. Holding a BSc in Management and Integrated Information Systems and an MBA from Long Island University, our featured speaker today has spent more than 45 years in the field of supply chain management, largely in the oil and gas industry. Along with his professional achievements in change management and major contract negotiations both nationally and internationally, he is also a skilled martial artist, independent life skills coach, and founding member of the Rotary Club of Point Fortin. Caribbean workers and viewers online, please stand as we welcome the Minister of Labor of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Stephen McClashy.
Good morning. It is with a sense of pride that I am here today to make opening comments in the Second Caribbean Workers Forum. This ambitious conference is hosted by the Cipriani College of Labor and Co-operative Studies and the Line Ministry, the Ministry of Labor, and our prestigious partner institutions, the ILO Caribbean Office, PSI, CCL, and what you may not know is that my sense of pride comes from being a Cipriani College of Labor alumnus, receiving a foundation that has held me in good stead to today. As such, being here and performing this duty is especially gratifying. The theme we will collectively explore over the next few days is the re-imaging the post-COVID social reality in the region. Pronouncing on the new normal has already become commonplace, with many offering views of a future reflecting their own beliefs and interests. I can tell you that when one sits in a position of leadership, in a position where one is responsible not only for things, but for the welfare and well-being of people, attempting to construct a vision and plan for the future is very difficult, sometimes painful, and always humbling in nature. The common thread that unifies all enlightened efforts at conceptualizing the post-COVID reality is understanding the lessons of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is where much of the pain and confusion is experienced. We, as a country and as a region, were simply unprepared for this pandemic. We should not see this as an abject admission of failure or incompetence, or as some of the cultural flagellation that we are so ready to practice. We are not alone in our lack of preparedness. Developed and developing countries alike struggled and are still struggling with the pandemic. Still, the reality of high infection rates and COVID fatalities cannot be diminished by comparing ourselves to others. The pandemic has delivered some hard lessons. It has shown that too many in our society face genuine income challenges, where income loss for even a period of days create material crisis. While we in the region have some experience with dealing with natural disasters, these events are normally short in nature. None of us could have imagined an economic disaster which stops trade and commerce for almost 2 years. The shuttering of businesses in malls and in cities, towns, and village centers damaged the chances for economic recovery and investor confidence in the future. This situation has also revealed the limits of our social protection systems. We simply have little ability to deal with long-term loss or job and income for significant proportions of our population. The strain on our healthcare systems are obvious, and it is fortunate that our hospitals and elder care institutions have not been challenged in the way that many other countries have been. There is amongst us a cavalier group who joke about the avoidance of a disaster by saying, God is a Trinity. It is somehow fitting that no one is saying that now. The most optimistic lessons of the pandemic have been the accelerated application of technology in economic activity and education. Remote work and study have evolved to a degree that would have taken years under normal circumstances. Trade and services have gone online in a manner which may now be irreversible. We are being ushered into the new digital world where we have no alternative but to adapt and compete. This adaptation is at the heart of government's plans for recovery and resilience. But COVID has revealed that our digital infrastructure may be as challenged as is our health and social security counterparts. The COVID-19 pandemic has not only revealed our structural challenges, it has also shown the foundation on which the new normal must be built. This is where we must, as a society, acknowledge the resilience of our people. We must recognize the resilience of the healthcare workers who continue to stand on the front line of life and death, at great risk to themselves and their own loved ones, to nurse them back from the brink and at the same time comfort others in their final moments. We must acknowledge the resilience of our essential workers in the fire, prisons, and police officers who have ensured public order even as a comrade, a batch, becomes a casualty of the pandemic. We must acknowledge the act of resilience of all service workers who get up every day and simply go to work. We must acknowledge the resilience of teachers and parents who have borne the burden of remote schooling in combination with all the other challenges of the pandemic condition. We offer our condolences for all our fallen comrades, friends, and family members who have been lost to this pandemic. Many will speak to the technological needs, the economic adjustments, the institutional changes, unemployment insurance, changes in healthcare, and commitment to social dialogue, all of the elements that a new future will require. But none of these, individually or collectively, will be sufficient to move our societies into a more sustainable, more equitable future without the application and determination of our social partners in our quest to change the future. Resilience has been the active ingredient in all social change in the region history. Our working people have been the center of mass social movements that have shaped political, economic, and social change. It is this resilience embedded in our working people, their preparedness to risk everything, that move our society from our colonial past into independent nation status. It will be the resilience of our people that have moved us in the past and will no doubt move us into the post-COVID future. This step will require us to break from the past in so many ways, break from old habits and beliefs and explore new mindscapes, new frontiers. Will we have the courage to embrace new ideas, allies, values, new opportunities? Will we have the courage to compromise and collaborate instead of permitting all engagement on the demonizing of the other? Will we commit to moving from paper to paperless, analog to digital, habit-bound to creative, rigid to flexible, and traditional to innovative? Are we prepared to commit to being productive, fair, and responsible, and to give value in all our relationships? This is the resilience that moved our society from slavery to freedom, through the labor turmoil of the 1930s, through the independence movement of the 50s and 60s, and the social upheavals of 1970 and 1990, and through current structural adjustment. It will be the single most important factor that will see us step into the unknown with the certainty that we will not carry with us our pre-COVID weaknesses. I thank you for your attention, and I implore you to have a safe and productive conference. Thank you.
Thank you to our featured speaker, Minister of Labor of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Stephen McClatchy, for his contribution. We have spent the past few hours discussing the challenges and issues associated with the labor industry for 2021 and beyond. Over the next 3 days, we will convene and attempt to find solutions to these issues to bolster our members for the trying times ahead. Up next, though, we have a character like no other. Rising from the dark recesses of this renowned auditorium here at the Cipriani Labor College is one of the most beloved traditional carnival characters, the Midnight Robber. Although he is dressed in a dark costume and concealed by a large hat, the robber is known for his boastful, egocentric, poetic talk. Prepare your ears and your fears. For the Midnight Robber, Curtis Gross.
Halt! Stop your chest from heaving and stop that heavy breathing, because I stand before you, the embodiment of notoriety. Look on me, Mockman, for I bring a message that is very clear, that is all are we it affecting. Now, we're talking about this new reimagine. They talk about this new normal. But I say it is not so. It is nothing but a suppression tool. But look on me, Mockman, for it is only a tool that only cowards use. For I am known as the spirit of freedom. I loot, plunder, and do what must be done. But right now, I am the embodiment of every governing body that ever walked upon this mortal earth. For to suppress your freedom is my desire. I am the one who would bring the hellfire. I would make sure that you say nothing against me, and I send my agent in the form of COVID to make sure that they could lick you down and lock you up and tell you anything they want. Fear, my tool that I forever using to make sure I get what I want. And right now, as a political football or tool that I use, I'm going to get all the funds that I need. All I need is a fearful people. People frightened in a corner from a disease that I know I created. Oh, you didn't know I created? The fella name, you want to know? It's COVID. Yes, stop just in your country, stop over the whole world. And they talk about a first, second, third, and fourth wave. They say they're making vaccination to see if they could cure this thing. But I say no. The only thing that needs to be cured is the greed of those who say they hold the seat of power. Now, these usurpers desire to take my throne, but I say no. They are all going to die and leave me alone. For I look at every greedy deed that they say they do and say that they care about you. But if they so care, why is it that they discriminate against those who refuse to exercise their civil rights and always talk in favor of those they control and inject fear into their veins? Look at me. Now I know once you're vaccinated, you fill my coffers. For I am known as Pfizer, I am known as JJ, I am known as AstraZeneca. Call whichever form you want. I know that every cent that work upon the treasury or the mint comes to me. Your freedom, your rights. Oh, right, I forget. We create a state of emergency. You see, after a certain hour, you must never walk this street to tell people that you have to meet particular things, because my cowardly brethrens, or I should say cowardly mortals, desire total control after a certain time. No man must walk this street free and in peace. No, but I say this must cease. Now, I usually would loot and plunder, but I have those in power trying to see if they could usurp me and take my throne. But I say no. That throne is fitted for me alone. Look on me, For hellfire I bring for those who try to see if they could do what I do. You are governance, you are opposition. You stand there claiming that you love the people and you care about the people. But why is it that money talk more than lives? No commitment and honesty. Continue, and you would be on my cuppa's field. Pitch, fodder for my garden, pitch for my field. And I look on you, mortal, and said, please, exercise your right and take heed. They talk about reimagining this new normal. I say, brother, sister, mortal, human. This is true carnival. Take your rights, take your money, give your fear in return, and then suppress you as much as I could. That is what I release upon this mortal plane. So my minions are going to walk. Some take in the form of commissioners, some take in the form of ministers. Some say that they are prime, some say they are president. I don't know which one would take president, but I say this is a time for our people to either wake up, or I will continue to get fat and loot using the cover of this COVID. It is getting late, and in case you miss it, I must return to Hellgate. But know this, you mocking pretenders, you have just been graced by a true midnight robber.
Comrades, tonight we sang, we danced, and we heard from some of the most influential leaders. Over the next 3 days, you will be part of the Caribbean Workers Forum 2021 as we address our current dilemma in this historic time. You will be in the company of some of the world's most brilliant minds and seek solutions through vital collaborations as we reimagine the new normal. We look forward to keynote speakers, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, and Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Please remember to share the link to this broadcast across your social media platforms. Thank you again. Much thanks to all our sponsors. We thank you for the collaboration. I've been your host, Jason Williams, JW, and on behalf of the members and management of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies, I wish you good night. All the best. Until we meet again, give you all a virtual touch. Much love.